Hi, Mark. How you doing? All right, let's go and take a look. So we have your Henry Kissinger. That's fantastic. Need to narrow it down. Just haven't been able to do that yet. I get it. This is you're just gathering information at this point, Mark. So that's cool. There's going to be a lot of editing going on here. So I just want to kind of check under the hood here to make sure that all the basic parts are included. So I'm guessing since it doesn't say we need to post basic info here in our sketches for critique, that's it. Yeah, that's if you jump over to the assignment, week 5, researcher laureate, provide their name, biography, paragraphs, photo, and dates for your timeline, and then looking for your thumbnail sketches. So yes, you are correct in that. Okay, so I open your. Okay, I don't know where to start here. Let me think. Should we go? Let's just go right over here. Let's go right over here to your bio information. And this is great. You've got all of your bio information here. You've got, this is good stuff right here. Good bio information. You've got your timeline. And yes, as you suspected, the timeline is really long and it's going to be way too cumbersome. It needs to be really severely edited down to only the most pertinent points that have to do with Henry Kissinger. For example, you've got some things in the timeline that are before he was even born. So, is this important to leave in the timeline since it occurred before he was born? I don't know. It may lead up to some of the historical events, but I'm not real sure if it's pertinent enough to keep in a timeline specifically regarding Henry Kissinger. Do you see what I'm saying? So yes, I agree that the timeline is pretty lengthy and it would definitely have to be just the most relevant points. So let's go ahead and think about that. Image is fine. Black and white image, I'm fine with that. Don't forget you can use up to 5 colors in the image, but if you want to use a full color image, go right ahead. But the rest of the poster only 5 color maximum. Okay. Okay, so that's good stuff. You've got, the one thing I didn't see is your tagline. So don't forget, on the front of the poster, you have to have his name. And you've got a little bit of a section here for the back, for the tagline. But let's go ahead and work that out. I'd like to know what that tagline is actually going to say. I see your sketches. Now here you're talking about camo background. The only thing with that is that there's really no imagery supposed to be on the front of the poster, though I think a camo background might be a little difficult to work with. Now, the thing about a camo background is you could theoretically transpose that onto the back of the poster as well and use that as your timeline. And I'll give you another example of that. But right now, what I'm seeing is this: we really need a solid conceptual approach here. And I think one of the things that you alluded to in your writing is you're talking about circle. This is interesting, very, very interesting stuff right here, where you're talking about the North Vietnamese in a negotiation table favoring a circular table, and South Vietnamese arguing for a rectangular table, and that's an interesting approach. It is. So we've got the circle here and the rectangle here. But is that strong enough to build the concept for the poster? And I'm not sure it is, because really the thing that's going to end up happening is as the viewer takes a look at without this knowledge right here, this is pretty much an arbitrary decision. Do you see what I'm saying? So unless I'm just not seeing it as a solid conceptual approach, being that one would have to have previous knowledge, knowing that the North Koreans wanted the round table, the South Koreans wanted the rectangular table, or the South Vietnamese wanted the rectangular table. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not sure the viewer is going to really know. And if the viewer doesn't know, these are going to seem like purely arbitrary decisions. And of course, as we know at this point in the class, we're trying to stay away from strictly arbitrary decisions in favor of conceptual decisions. Okay? I'm going to give you an example of that in a second. But moving forward into your final submission for this week, I'd like to see more sketches. I'd like to see you try to develop a really solid conceptual tie between the visual demeanor, some of the visual attributes, the connotative and denotative meanings created through the type and the tagline on the front, and even using typographic substitution and things like that in the front. And that was all covered in our lecture for this week, so you can take a look at that. But let me do this by example. Oh, by the way, the back of the poster needs to have the image, so we would want to see that. Okay, and then the tagline as well. So I'm going to show you some examples and kind of just clarify what I was saying about conceptual development, and I'll show you a fantastic example. Now, so in summary, I would like to see more sketches. I'd like to see sketches really developing concept. I'd like to see sketches continuing the concept from the front to the back, if possible. At the very least, let's get some sort of conceptual tie in that timeline itself. And again, hold off. I'm going to show you some examples in a second. So I'd like to see new sketches for Sunday. We've got all the information we need except the tagline. We need tagline or subhead. We need that. Okay, now what I'm talking about in conceptual development is this. And this is a fantastic example. What I'd like you to do, Mark, is just think about this. Just think about it, sleep on it, think about it, do a lot of research, figure out what you can do to tie a sort of visual concept in with Henry Kissinger. All right, now, is that going to be associated or tied in with Vietnam? Quite probably, quite probable. I think that would probably be the most relevant historical connection, which could lead to a good concept development. So let's take a look at this one, for example, and this is what I would really want you to think about, really sleep on this, and really try to develop something for your work. So Martin Luther King Jr., right? Here's the tagline. All right, what this designer has done is used substitution and used the equal sign as the E for Luther, representing equality. That's fantastic, right? However, this designer took it a step further and used continuation, took that equal sign and used it for the timeline on the back of the poster. So the front and the back of the poster, the front has heavy conceptual development, and there's a good relationship between that, good continuation between the concept development in the front of the poster and its continuation on the back of the poster. Okay, and that's the kind of concept we're looking for here, Mark, and that's what a lot of the lectures from this week and last week talked about, the development of using type with image, and developing specifically this week talking about creating denotative and connotative associations using things like substitution. So think about that and really try to come up with some solid conceptual ties. And like I said, I'd like to see some further more well-developed sketches that allude to that kind of conceptual tie and relating the front of the poster to the back of the poster, specifically something that's happening in the front of the poster and how it might be continued onto the back of the poster in the presentation of the type or the timeline or both. Okay, so those are my recommendations, Mark. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Thank you.